This is my June reads. No DNFs. I did read a full duology and some comics for the podcast. The podcast, of course, you can always go listen to yourself. The 90s Never Happened with me, Daniel Agan, and Bree Rose. If you like Marvel specifically, I don't know if we'll branch into other things, but I know at the moment we're like focusing on Marvel, you would be up your alley, especially if you like comedy stuff. The books that I read, the duology, was the Dragon Spirit duology with by KX Song, and that's with the books The Night Ends in Fire and The Dragon Wakes with Thunder. Okay, so like for me, I recommend it. I think they were great. I love the idea of a Mulan retelling. This one really shifts the perspective of what most remember Mulan to be, which is the Disney film. And this author makes it into a far more detailed and wonderful story of a woman and her choice. Loved that off the bat. This is one of those fantasy stories that are enjoyable to just like sit back and relax as you like weave through the entire story that this author, has designed. And I was very eager to jump into the moment I finished the first, which great sign. And then with the second book when I was reading it, I will say off the bat for the story overall, I do think this would have been better as a why choose instead of a love triangle. But I get how, I get why a lot of books, especially when they get traditionally published, do not go for the why choose option. Because the love triangle is more like a lot more people like when someone chooses. But I really think this specifically would have been way better as a why choose. But with that out of the way, this story in the second book specifically, it becomes more like melancholy, but it is still so beautiful. You will get more of like the political intrigue with the second book. You will get more of the fantasy, like fantastical elements in the second book. And you will get more of the romance subplot. And I do appreciate that the romance in and of itself was very much secondary to the overall story. I really like that about this one. Like I said, I loved this book, the whole duology, and I do think it's a solid read overall, and I do think that it's one that I would definitely recommend to those who, want something fresh, but still, like, I think fantasy readers will understand what I'm saying is it's hard to get something fresh and new but still interesting in the fantasy genre anymore, because it does end up leaning towards romantasy. And there's nothing wrong with romantasy, but I know there is a distinction a lot of people have with the reading, and I think this is a great specific to fantasy story. But yeah, I didn't have any DNFs, and that was all I read in June. So like and sub if you want more. I just posted my first non-book content, so if you want to go check that out, that would be great. And I will be back for July. Thanks.